Interesting. A couple of new surveys out. A new CBS News New York Times poll reviews that an overwhelming majority, 66% of Americans, believe that additional terrorist attacks are likely in the United States in the coming months. And in another poll from Farley Dickinson University, 44% of self-described Republican voters believe that, quote, an armed revolution might be necessary to protect our liberties, end quote. Who should we worry about more, the Republicans or the Muslims? Richard Perle might know, former Assistant Secretary of Defense for International Security Policy, Reagan Administration, 1981 to 87, currently President Fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, Pentagon Policy Advisor to the Bush Administration until 2004. AEI.org is the website for the American Enterprise Institute. Richard Perle, welcome back to the program.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to be with you.
You are promoting or talking about this, the third jihad, this the Clarion Project's new film, Radical Islam's Vision for America. Tell me about this.
Well, it's a really interesting, packed with information documentary that deals with the effort by radical Islamists to propagate the vision of an Islamic universe, and to do so in the United States. And when we think about these acts of terror and are reluctant to say that they have a source, an ideological source, I think we prevent ourselves from coming up with strategies for dealing with it. So it's an important documentary. The public needs to understand what the inspiration for these acts of terror really is.
Would it not be reasonable to say that back in the, the 30s or the 40s, when the King of Saudi Arabia made the deal with Mr. Wahha, or the founder of Wahhabism, I'm sure you know the details of this better than I, that particular radical strain of Islam, up until that point, Islam had been far less, shall we say, radical. And for the fact of the matter is, there's over 1 billion Muslims in the world. The vast majority of them just want to raise their kids and, have a job and, conduct themselves fine. But that, we and Saudi Arabia kind of made a deal with the devil, and that has not produced the best results for us.
Well, I certainly agree with that. What happened, of course, was the feudal state of Saudi Arabia was looking for legitimacy, and so it did a deal with an extremist radical cleric,
right.
And the Wahhabi sect, unfortunately, with the wealth of Saudi Arabia behind it, has been propagating this extremist vision all over the world. It supports and sponsors thousands of schools, madrasas as they're called, which really don't teach much more than this radical Islamist vision. You find a lot of them in Pakistan, for example.
Yeah. No, I'm familiar with this, and and literally school books in Saudi Arabia that say that Jews use the blood of Muslims to make matzah.
What makes it worse, of course, is that it reaches into the United States. Tremendous amounts of money flow from the Wahhabi institutions to schools and mosques in the U.S.
So given that this, so much of this is coming out of Saudi Arabia, and we have to keep in mind that it was 14 of the hijackers in 9/11 were Saudis. And it just seems like the source of all this stuff, and yet we're flying the Bin Laden family out of the country when the rest of the country is shut down after 9/11.
I think we have failed to understand how Saudi Arabia deals with us in the world, and therefore how we should deal with them. And the issue has been confused in recent years because the Saudis have had their own internal terrorist problem, and they've cracked down on it, which has led some people wrongly to conclude that they have somehow shifted sides. The fact is, while they're tough on their own terrorists internally, they're quite happy to see the extremists operate outside Saudi Arabia.
Oh, they're promoting Wahhabism all around the world, and we're promoting them by buying their oil. which gets back to, I mean, you could argue that this goes back to when Churchill decided to take the British Navy off coal and put it on oil, even though England had no oil. And we got in bed with him on that, and all of a sudden, we had an oil-based economy around the world, and suddenly the British, in particular, were very interested in Saudi Arabia, and then we got into that one. I mean, there's just all these pieces of this thing, but
life is full of irony.
It really is. It really is. Meanwhile, we've got. I mean, I think most Americans have some concern about Islamic terrorism, although the odds of any of us being killed by a Muslim terrorist, first of all, are lower. We just, here in Washington, D.C. yesterday, we had a cab driver who was an American in the Army Reserves who had served in Iraq, who was Muslim, cab driver. And a guy got in his cab, and they've got the video from the cab cam, and for 11 minutes, this guy just beat the crap out of this cab driver because he was Muslim. Not even. I mean, the cab driver was an American. He was an American soldier, and was now has making a little driving a cab. I think Muslims are more at risk in the United States, it seems, than we are from the Muslims. You're more likely to die slipping in the bathtub than you are to die in a terrorist attack. Aren't we just wild? Aren't we just like going hysterical here about something that we should be treating in a more rational way?
I certainly agree we should be treating it in a more rational way, but unfortunately what happens is the administration and many political figures are reluctant to talk about it out of a fear that it will somehow inflame anti-Muslim passions. If we talk about the much narrower but important issue of the Wahhabi influence in the world and increasingly in the United States, what we need to do is isolate the source of the problem. It's not all Muslims. It's not Islam as such. It is a very narrow, radical strain, and we need to come to grips with that.
I don't disagree. It's like the people who suggest that all Christians are terrorists because there's an entire network of Christians who were supporting Eric Rudolph when he bombed the what do you call it, the Olympics in Atlanta,
right,
and several of the other abortion clinic bombers. I mean, there's literally a network of Christians in the United States who support these guys, and will hide them in things, and so we've got our own Wahhabists within Christianity in the United States. It's a much smaller number, and they're nowhere near as well funded. They don't have a petrostate behind them. But to color all Christians that way is just as absurd as to color all Muslims, with the Wahhabi perspective. We have just a minute left. I'm curious your thoughts on 44% of Republicans think that it's appropriate to take up arms against the government of the United States of America. Have we gone nuts?
Yeah. Yes, I think we have. There are lots of problems in the government, but none of them rise to the level that we should be taking up arms, that's for sure.
Where is this coming from?
I think there's mounting frustration, a sense on the part of many conservatives that they are unable to influence government policy, that between the Democrats and the Republicans who are unwilling to make a revolution, they feel they have no means of expression. Interesting conversation. Richard Perle, former Assistant Secretary of Defense in the Reagan administration. Sir, thank you so much for being with us today. All the best. It's always a pleasure. Good talking to you.